Hey, fellow Riblets, it's me, Tom from Target Prime Rib. It's another fabulous Saturday with another fabulous targeted guest. I hope everybody is doing pretty well. I got the infamous, lovely Laura Russell from Healthy Carnivore here with me. We've been waiting for a long time for this. So I got several people in the chat. So before we actually go on, I just want to, give them all a mention, if that's okay. Sandy Blythe was the first one on here, and she mentions how she loves the two of us. So, hello, Sandy. We love
Yes,
you too. You're my carnivore mom, so of course we love you.
that's right.
And
That's
then
right.
Don says this is going to be good. Yeah, for people like my guests and people like you, of course this is going to be good. And then Grandma's Crochet Corner, Barbara is here. Hello, Barbara.
I love
Have you
that.
heard of her yet or no?
I haven't, but I'm a crocheter, so anybody that has that in their name, I'm okay with it.
Yes. Yeah, you should watch her show sometime. She's really good. And then we got Bacon Runner. So I think Laura likes bacon and I like bacon. So if you want to run for some bacon, Donna Ray, that's fine with me. And then we got 22 Cute Cat. And then
Mhm.
Jiffy, 388 Strange Animal. Hi, Thomas and Laura. I need this today. Well, hope we can help you. Paul
Yeah.
is here. Hello, Paul. Hello. Yeah, why did you say it like that? Hello, Paul. Hello, Paul.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Michael's Adventures. Hey, I think I just saw you on Jerry's channel earlier. And we have Aaron Booby Goats. We all know Aaron.
Yay.
And then
Yes.
George is here. George Goodenough. Bride's Biscuit.
Mhm.
And we have George's wife Lainey is on here. We have Coach Juliet. Wow, we got a lot of people just from the
Yay.
get-go. You must be really famous, Laura. And then we got
Yeah,
Louis
right.
Lotito, and then that's everybody. So
Perfect.
um, this is pretty cool. Let's get those. Louis is asking. Let's get those questions in for Thomas and Laura. Yes, everybody, please put QQQ in front so then we can answer the
Yeah.
questions pretty effectively. How I usually do it. I don't know if you actually see the chats or not.
Yeah,
But
I can
how
see them.
can you? Okay, good. How I usually do it is once I catch a QQQ or something interesting, I will put it up. So while you're talking, you can answer it as you're doing. You know.
Good. Okay.
So um, and, and Sharon, hello Sharon, Steadfast is here. So we've got a lot of people. Do you recognize most of these names, or
I do. I recognize most all of them.
yeah, it's a little hard not to, right? We're all like a
Yeah.
big happy family here. So without further ado, I mean, you're here for a reason, right? So
Yeah.
I've seen most of your story. I saw you tell your story on Adam Lacey's channel and a couple
Mhm.
of others, and I was pretty fascinated with it. But
Yeah.
I can't do it justice, obviously. So that's why you're here to give it justice even more. So, oh, we got two more people. Oh, actually, let's answer this question from Grandma. If I can get it to show up. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Um, from someone that has never heard of Laura, can I hear a bit about? Well, of course, that's why she's here.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. I'll give my story.
Oh, here's one from George. Uh, I'm just going to read it. I'm having Lewis.
Okay.
Whenever we get a
That's
chance, I
okay.
need your help with my trackpad. What's Skype deer count for this week?
Mine is 2 and my husband 0 still. Poor guy.
Okay. That's funny.
I think I have more aggression to get rid of. He's a calmer person. I think that's why. So I go out there and I'm like, I'm taking something. So that's what I think.
Okay. All right. And he has the emojis of the deer on there too. All
Yes.
right. So, um, I know you have a pretty nice story, pretty big story with your nursing
Yeah.
and everything. And
Yeah.
I'm going to give the mic to you and let you just tell your story and take as much time as you need, take as much time as you want. There's no limit. Well, there's like a 2-hour limit, but you know.
Yeah. I did that on Ferrigno Freedom, and he says, "We're just gonna do an hour," and the next thing you knew, it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes. He goes, "Oh my god, I've never done something so long like that, on there before." But it just kind of evolved into that. I will not do that. So,
Before
a
we
little
actually
bit
go on, I'm
about
sorry, Laura, we
oh,
do have
yeah,
one question.
yeah, yeah,
Laura, Lizzie asks, and welcome, Lizzie. Glad you're here. Laura, you mentioned I can do something about a tooth pain. Can you tell me?
absolutely. So there's a couple things you can do. The easiest thing would be to get a clove, like a whole clove, like you would use in if you're pickling something, or if you grind your own to make, put in cookies. You can take one of those, chew it a little bit, and put it down right against the gum or the tooth that is giving you problems. Other thing is you can take like some organic olive oil, just a little bit of it, throw 3 or 4 cloves in it, set it in the window, let the sunlight hit it for a couple days. If you need it right now, I would just chew the clove. But if it's something you want to have on hand, you can make your own essential oil basically with it. And then you can take a cotton ball and put it on it, put it right in that area. I actually just used clove oil yesterday inside my ear because I was having an earache. So, and it works right now.
Yeah, and just to let you know, I just bought some more elderberry. Um,
Yep. It'll
can
be I was
because
gonna send it out
I
this morning,
yeah,
but, they were
I
closed.
actually skipped Chris. I actually missed Christmas because I got sick. So,
Yeah,
I was like, you know what? I need that elder. Like, also, I saw like I was
yeah,
be interviewing you today, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh my god, I ran out of
yeah,
elderberry. So,
yeah,
I ordered it. So it's coming in the mail.
perfect.
How long it takes, I don't
Yep.
know, but it's
Yeah, and, you never know. I've sent stuff to Alaska, many times, and there's times it takes 4 days it gets to Alaska, and it's been 2 weeks, and it's like the postal service,
you
I'm
just
not
never
sure
know. Yeah, I
sometimes.
ordered it on the 24th. So,
Yeah,
and probably it's not gonna be anything on Christmas. So,
yeah,
I would
yeah.
Okay. And she
Very
says,
much.
"Okay, thank you. I have clothes.
Welcome.
I'll go get the
Perfect.
oil." So, excellent. All
Absolutely.
right. So back to the back, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so tell us your fabulous story.
All right. So, back when I graduated high school, I was 240 pounds. So that would have been in 1989. So we're going back a little ways. I went to my new family doctor, very young. He's 6'5" and was about 125 pounds. He looked like a zipper. He was the skinniest thing I've ever seen. But he was like, "You need to give up fat, you need to give up eggs, butter, you need to eat chicken breast, take the skins off, eat the low fat, salad dressings, stuff like that." So I did that, for the next year, went back to him just the beginning of 91 and was 313 pounds. My cholesterol was through the roof. My triglycerides were at least 1,000. They may have been over that. That's as far as their meter went. And it went there like that. And I knew wasn't a nurse yet, but I knew that that wasn't good. That when they turned my blood on the side to show me my name, it looked like little pieces of Crisco in there. And I asked the nurse, "What is that?" And she was like, "Oh, that's just fat." And I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen that before, having my blood drawn. So I knew, I was like, oh boy, this isn't good. So when I went and saw him a week later for my visit, he immediately brings out his prescription pad because back in the day, they wrote prescriptions on paper, and he wrote Lipitor 80 milligrams daily. And I remember looking at it and I said, how long do I take this? Because, I was thinking like an antibiotic, you take it 7 days and you've cured whatever and you're good. And he said, forever. And I was like, I said, I'm not living out of a medicine bottle. I'm 20 years old. I'm not doing that. And he was just like, well, you have to, you need to go get this filled, da, da, da. And I was like, there's nothing else I can do. What I put in my body makes no difference. He just, nope, nope. Okay. So I did not go to the pharmacy. I drove right past the pharmacy, went right to our great big library that we have, and I knew that they had old medical books up on the very top shelf. I had seen them there before, veterinarian books and dentistry books that were back from like 1850 up through 1910. And so I had the lady get those all down, and I spent every night after work uh, Xerox copying, if that tells you the age, all these pages and all. And I mean, I basically copied the entire book of every one of those and brought it home and just studied all of them. And the more I kept reading, you hear words today like saturated fat and trans fat and all these fancy words, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, that's so nuanced. It's not. It was back in those books in the 1850s. They knew all these terms. They knew a lot of what we have been finding out. They already knew, but it's that it's been hidden. And so I was looking at that and I'm like, everything talked about like the more something is processed, the closer it becomes to sugar. The more sugar equals inflammation, the more inflammation equals disease. And I just kept going and I thought, okay. So after, several weeks, I went home, I cleaned out my pantry. I took all the box foods, everything white out of there, and I took it to the food pantry, which I feel guilty for because now I would have just thrown it away. But at the time, I thought I was doing something. I was like, well, it's better than starving. But now I'm thinking, no, you're probably better fasting than you are eating that. So
Right.
I wouldn't do it that same way that now. But so I did that. I really didn't do a lot of exercise at the time because my right hip bothered me from holding all that weight and I was just deconditioned. And so I really just ate out of our garden. We have always fished, hunted, stuff like that. Ate that kind of. I didn't buy anything from the grocery store other than like foil or Saran wrap or Ziploc baggies and stuff like that. I didn't buy my food there. And so I went back after 9 months. I had blood work done again a week prior to the appointment. None of that white fat was in that sample. I didn't see any, and she put it in the centrifuge and then they put it on the tester and she ran it and it went up to 33, and then she ran again and she just kept running it thinking that it was not right, so they actually did a whole nother sample, but it was 33. So my triglycerides had come all the way down to 33 in 9 months time, and I had lost 153 pounds in that time. And so I was pretty happy. I was like, hey, I've done something pretty good for myself.
Of course.
So I went to see him a week later, and of course, he was like patting himself on the back because, his medicine did
Taking the
this and
credit.
his
Right.
medicine did that. And yeah. And I said, I didn't fill your prescription. And you could just see him. It was like I had just bruised his inner child, and he got very nasty. The look on his face, I'll never forget. And he said, you're going to die a fat ass. And I'm like, I'm losing a whole bunch of weight today because, you're fired. And I just told him, shame on you for not knowing how my body worked. And I had to go dig for this information. And, it was before the internet. It was a lot harder to dig up this kind of
Oh yeah.
information
Oh
back
yeah.
then. Yeah. Now you can go out there and find all these studies online. It's pretty easy to get your hands on, where before you really had to dig. And I said, but you should know, you're a doctor. You should have been trained on how my body worked. I shouldn't have had to have gone out there and done it. And at the time, I was very mad at him. But as I look back now, and I'll be 55, double nickels coming up. And I'm like, I am so thankful that he did that when I was 20, because it forced me to go out there and figure out about how our bodies work, how food works for us. And I'm so glad he did that back then. I'm glad I didn't have to wait until I was 75 or 85. Not that I think it's ever too late. I don't. I think you can heal things throughout your life, no matter what your age is. So I did that. I did fire him that day. I also talked to him about, before I fired him, I said, I had a 77 Camaro in his parking lot right up by the window. And I just said, what we put in our body is fuel for us, how we run. All of our cells have to use the breakdown products of that. And I said, it's no different than I had to run Turbo Blue in my car because I had souped up a 327 out of a 68 Corvette. So I was running Turbo Blue, which is jet fuel. And he just looked at me like I had three heads, like it made no register for him at all. And I just was like, how sad, you know? So I handed him back his script and out the door I went. And I carried on eating keto. I had a child about 4 years into it, absolutely had an easy pregnancy, no problems there. Um, Nursed him for 17 months, no problem being keto, and did really good for 26 years of keto. And then keto treats came on the market. So we're talking Quest bars and Atkin
Yeah.
bars and all the things. And I am not a moderator. I know that about myself. I'm an all or none personality. So that's why I do better if I just abstain from something. I don't have to think about it. So I got into eating those and I never could eat one. You had to have two. And if there was three in the house, you might as well eat the third one. So, I did
You
that
got to be
talk.
fair. Yeah.
And yeah, and so the maltodextrin that was in there, a lot of the plant fiber stuff that they put in, the non-soluble stuff, a lot of those things really, and then the sugar alcohols. There was so much sugar alcohol in them, um, like your Splenda and stuff like that. Not that everybody has trouble with Splenda, but it can be very hard on the gut because the bacteria goes to it thinking it's an energy source and they die off because they can't utilize it. And that's okay in a little bit, but I think I just overdid it. And so I ended up with leaky gut. And so then the last 2 years of my keto was pretty horrific. It was like cystic acne again. I had joint pain that came back. I have OCD, which I still kept because I want to, because I like OCD. I like to put things back where they belong. But I had anxiety and depression that had come back. And so I was just, doomsday scrolling on Facebook one day and came across a Joe Rogan podcast, which I'd never seen him before other than on the fighting channel. And he was interviewing Dr. Sean Baker, and it was about carnivore. And I was like, huh. And this is like the first week into 19. And I was like, I think that's what I'm going to do. And I looked at my husband and I said, I think I'm going to go carnivore tomorrow. And he goes, you're going to do what? And I was like, I'm going carnivore tomorrow. And that's what I did. Um, and it was pretty rough. I won't lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was a little bit rough that first week, but I did transition pretty quickly. Um, but as the years have went on, it'll be 7 years in February. So as the years go on, I'm always tweaking things like doing higher fat to lower protein, not really low protein, but lower, like 80/20. I'll do alternate day fasting. I will do water fast, maybe one day of dry fast. I just kind of break it up and change it up. And I find that works really well for the females that I work with. Also, on my website, I do coaching, clienting, and stuff like that. And I have found that most females need way more fat in their diet, whether they're ketovore, or carnivore. They need a higher fat than most men. And a part of that is because we have to make more of the sex hormones, more types. You guys don't have
Right.
to make as much.
Yeah.
Um, and
I
so
could
I
see
have
that.
found
I
that
could
as
see
long
that.
as I kind of play with that, it works.
Hmm.
Yep. Now,
Yeah.
I will say too, when I started carnivore, I did gain 10 pounds that first 2 months and I about quit because, everybody is
Your
taught
brain
to
went
look
right
at
to
that
I want to
number.
lose weight. Right.
Yes.
Right.
And we're all taught that the scale is the most important thing. And I mean, I'm frugal. I don't like to spend money. And I was getting to the point where I was getting a bit nervous because my scrubs were getting a little bit tight. So the other thing too in my carnivore or keto journey is I went to nursing school about 11 years after being keto. And I'm also very glad that I was keto prior to going into nursing school because I already knew they're going to throw this garbage at you. You have to learn the basics of anatomy, the physiology, the thing. You need to know that stuff. But as for like the nutritional education, a lot of that stuff, I
Yeah.
regurgitated what they wanted for the test, and then I was like, I am never following any of that.
Yeah. So you were
I
like
do have to
forewarned basically before you even started.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it, I do, when you are a nurse, whether you're an LPN, a registered nurse, a nurse practitioner, it doesn't matter what level of nursing you are, you have to work under your state's Nurse Practice Act, which is very easy. Everybody's like, aren't you worried about, your nurse practice? And I'm like, I'm not, because it doesn't say that I have to follow your guidelines or the American Heart Association, or it says nutritional education, exercise education, food, it's very vague. And so I know I'm not worried about that because I've had people go, aren't you concerned? I'm like, no. And even if anybody ever tried to do that, I've had a doctor threaten to try to go after my nursing license because I took two of his diabetic patients after less than a year. They are no longer diabetic. They actually took the diabetes code off as long as and they're not carnivore, they're keto. And they
Yeah.
were able to turn it down around. Now, they did do carnivore in the beginning for 6 months straight and then went into like
Yeah.
ketovore.
When,
Yep, yep, and went back to that to what they can tolerate, and they had to do their own, like, try this food group, how does it affect me, how does this work?
mhm.
But, I mean, one of them was 74, he had been diabetic over 25 years, insulin dependent, and was on 3 different oral medications, and the first month that the doctors were like, "We gotta take you off all this because he was just going so low, all different times of the day, especially first, like in the middle of the night. And then, of course, during the day, um, he called me, the patient did, and he said, I saved $800 this month because he's got like a Humana, which is a crappy Medicare Advantage plan, which there is no such thing. It's a lie. It's an advantage to that company. It's not an advantage to the people who have it. But it didn't pay well on his medicine, so he had to pay for most of his meds. So he was saving $800 every single month since he's done that. But his doctor did call me, and he was like, "What are you doing to this?" And he said his name, and I said, well, I've taken care of about 15 people with that name. You need to tell me because I didn't know who this guy was, Colin. And then he told me who he was and told me what patient. And I said, oh, I said, I just did education on the fuel sources that he was putting in his body, which is what you should have been doing. And then he was really mad. And he says, I'm going to go after you. You broke your Nurse Practice Act. And I'm like, I absolutely didn't. I'll email you a copy. This is exactly what it says. And I never heard from him again. I also reminded him that actually there was a second patient that he didn't realize that I had also seen that was no longer diabetic and that he used to see because Medicare guidelines are they will pay for you to go see a specialty, like whether
Mhm.
it's cardiology, respiratory, whatever ology it
Right.
is, if you have that diagnosis. But if you are cured of that and you don't, and they take that diagnosis, which takes several months of you having hemoglobin A1C below 5.6
Right.
and showing that you can stay that way, then they will take that. Well, then Medicare wouldn't cover for these people to come see him. So that's what he was pissed about. And I said, don't worry. We've poisoned enough kids in the United States alone. You'll have plenty of clientele. You'll be just
Yeah.
fine.
You're going to have them for quite a while. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yep.
I just want to really quickly mention a few more people that have come in the chats.
Okay.
Tammy Golf is here. Miss Laugh a Lot. Nikki is here. And we also have, I think you know this guy, Rick Charger Mopar.
Yeah. We know Rick.
If you don't, we're in trouble.
Sir Quack
And
a lot.
yeah, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, Rick. I have to do this every single time you come on, just like everybody else. There you go.
There you go. His iguana and his duck.
And his duck. And they're both colored.
All right.
And then we have Deanna Raw, which I know her from Kilts. So hello, Deanna. It's great seeing you here. I think I mentioned Smoothie was here before, but if I didn't, I apologize, and I mention you now. So, hello everybody. Thank you for coming here, and we both appreciate it as always. So, sometimes I interrupt. My brain is just not that. So for that one gentleman, how
I
long did it take him, like for him to of with the diabetes? How long did it take? About.
So with him, he was able to do like the carnivore for 6 months, but he was like he had already lost the bottom of his right leg when I got him, so that was already gone.
Right.
But
Oh, yeah.
I just
Unfortunately,
wanted
you
to
can't grow that
prevent
back.
it.
I can tell you that.
Right. Right. So I just didn't I wanted to prevent him from it going above his knee because he drives a truck and has a CDL, and you can't get a CDL if your amputation's above the knee. And
Right.
so that was his career. That's what he did. And so I wanted to I was like, "Do you want to save this? Do you want to be able to do this?" And so he stayed very diligent for the straight 6 months and then started reintroducing foods. But his hemoglobin A1C was 11.9 when I first went into his house. At 6 months, he was 5.5, and now he's lower than me. He's 4.9. And I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
um,
I mean, my
and
my first
it's great.
reaction to that, I would have to say, would be like, well, because I mean, like, and I'm not jealous or anything like that, because I know everybody's different. But I
Sure.
think like the
Hmm.
first reaction most people would have is, well, what am I doing wrong? You know, because
Nothing. Nothing.
like my
Right.
sugars have gone up and stuff like that, and yeah, I occasionally have something here and there, like very, very
Right.
occasionally, but
Yeah.
but even the first 6 months, yeah, I went down, but now they've gone back up. I don't know if you know or not, but my
Yeah.
A1C went
Yeah.
back up again,
Yep.
and
Yeah. I heard that.
but I'm not looking at it as like I failed. I'm looking at it as more like this is
No,
just part of
absolutely not.
it's like a bump
Well,
in the road. That's all.
right. Well, and I think the other thing is this is my theory of being a nurse for almost 24 years and seeing people is what I find is people in our age group, we are not healing necessarily as fast.
Hmm.
And I think it's because by the time we came out in the 70s, everything was starting to be processed. It was Pop Tarts, it was, ho hos and ding dongs and junk,
Hmm.
where his generation they started out on whole foods, a
That's
lot
true.
more stuff that came yeah. So I think that, like, the seed oils, I think the seed oils got us. I really think that the thing that I dealt with the hardest was the seed oils and the liver, the fatty liver. I see that so much more in people from, kids all the way up into early 60s. From 60s on, unless they're alcoholics, I almost don't have any patients that have that fatty liver. And he did not have that. He did not have fatty liver, and neither did the other fella.
Uh,
And so that's the only thing that makes sense to me is that they both grew up on farms. So they had a good beginning. They were around all the good microbes. They were out in the sun all the time, all of the stuff that by the time we came along, they were like, slather on this chemical concoction and block the sun out. Don't go, don't do this. Eat the stuff out of the box, throw it in the microwave, do whatever was easiest because, both parents had to be outside the home working to survive. And so I think we kind of got a bum deal. And so working with people that are in my age range is a lot harder of getting those things to move.
yeah.
It's not as fast. And plus everybody's physiology is different too.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. I
you
mean,
know,
Pop-Tarts have been
yeah.
around since I was a kid, definitely, and,
Oh, long time.
and I remember when I was younger, like, certain snacks like Cosmo came out,
Mhm.
even though I didn't real to tell you the truth, I really didn't like Cosmos. I don't know why, just
Yeah.
something about it that I didn't like. It just tasted very, like
Fake.
it reminded me of, like, the pizza you got at, like, in the lunchroom. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
It was gross. I
Yeah,
didn't like
um, um,
them either.
especially the pizza one. I mean, I was okay with the cheese and
Yeah.
pretzel, but the pizza one, I just didn't like.
Yeah.
And, just all these different things. I remember when I was a kid, I've mentioned this before, I used to get made fun of all the time, and when I was about 14,
Me
I
too.
worked my first job, and 2 things I bought with my first job. I bought my bicycle so I can go to
Yep.
work,
Yeah.
and I also bought once a week, I got my paycheck, and I bought food every Friday. I go to the local 7-Eleven, and I would buy, and it's not about me, but I'm just mentioning it. I would buy myself like a whole sub, and back then they actually made the whole sub. It was like on a slicer and
Right.
everything,
Right.
and I'd get a whole sub, and I would never get vegetables. I would never get lettuce or tomato on that. I'm not going to ruin
No.
my sub with lettuce and tomato, but I would
Yes,
have that with
that's right.
mustard. It would be on whole wheat bread because I thought that was
Yeah.
healthier.
Yeah. Right.
Um, and then I would do a bag of potato chips, a thing of Cheese Whiz, because you have to have cheese
Oh.
with your potato chips. Then I buy 2 candy bars and 3 cupcakes, or 3 candy bars and 2 cupcakes, whichever one I felt like.
Mhm.
6 things of Laffy
Yeah.
Taffy because that's how many they had of different flavors, and
I
back then
loved Laffy Taffy.
they were in squares. They weren't in the
Yeah,
cube.
they were long.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
now they actually, well, then they were like little bitty squares, and you could open them
Yeah.
up easier. Now you have to kinda, like,
Yeah.
peel them easier,
Peel everything back.
you know? Um, and then a 3-liter bottle of soda, not a
Oh,
2-liter bottle, a 3-liter bottle of soda, and
wow.
then of course, you had to have a buttered roll at 7-Eleven because that's the law, and I
Yeah.
would go home, and I would finish it up in one, like, I'd go home, like, cut across somebody's yard and get home, and
Mhm.
I would eat the whole thing and then go back the next week and do it, and then whatever else I
Yeah.
had, and it just got worse and
Yeah.
worse for me, but that was my emotional food,
Yep.
and I had that all the time, you
Yeah.
know, and, I don't do that anymore, God forbid, but,
No.
you know,
Which is hard to do when you live above a chocolate factory.
actually, believe it or not, I'm a lot, for the most part, I'm pretty much in control, it's
That's good. That's
I'm
good.
pretty amazed by that, I still do have some chocolate here and there,
Yeah.
but even like the other day, I had some chocolate the bark that you have, like, during Christmas?
Yeah. Mhm.
I said, "What's your smallest piece?" And they're like, "Well, it's about this big." And I'm like, "Okay, can you
Right.
break that in half, and I'll buy that." So they
Yeah.
actually broke it, and they bought it for me. So,
Yeah.
you know, but
Awesome.
it does bring my sugars up a little bit, but I usually have it under control. Right now, my sugar is at 132, so it's
Good.
but I'm pretty happy. It was for a while there. It was like almost
Over
250.
200.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I
So I
thought I
mean,
remember that.
I'm getting it under control, and I'm doing whatever it takes to do that. And
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of advice. Sometimes I think I get a little too much advice because it's like,
Yep.
too many cooks are spoiling the broth, so to speak. So I'm,
Yeah.
so I am, and I know Lewis had mentioned one time, he's like, I don't know how you can like do all these groups and everything like that and get all this advice and be able to, I'm like, I just have to absorb it and
And then
whatever,
filter it out.
and filter out what I think isn't really working for
Yep.
me and just really,
Yeah.
and
And
just,
that I think that's something a lot of people that try to clean up their diet, that's something they'll run into, and I
mhm,
found that with people on my website that would reach out, before they would, book a session with me. They're like, "Well, you're carnivore and I'm keto or I'm vegetarian wanting to become keto or something." And I'm like, "Okay." And they're like, "Well, do you work?" And I was like, "I work with everybody. I've worked with vegans, vegetarians, fruit." I had one fruitarian, she's no longer alive. Um, Tried to work with getting her better. But anyway, and it's like my job is I'm a nurse first. Like I want to try to get you to the healthiest. I want to try to keep as many people out of the medical index as possible and get people to that. And so I'm always like, don't try too many things. Like I worked with somebody today and I'm like, there are 6 steps to try to fix the gut problem. She's got gastroparesis and SIBO. And of course, everybody wants that fixed right now, and it is miserable. But I'm like, we need to do baby steps. We do this one for 2 to 3 weeks. At the end of that time, let's see where you're at and see if it's time to integrate that next one. But I'm like, we can't throw all of those at you because if the junctions in the gut are not closed and they're sitting there wide open, you can take L-glutamine, you can take all these things, and guess what? It's going to spill right through the leaky gut. So it's not going to matter. So you're wasting your time. So it's just trying to find for each person kind of where your niche is and like where you fit in. And it's different for I have not worked with anybody that I could be like that'd make my my client business, that'd make it a lot easier if I could just say, do XYZ and you're cured. It's
You're
just
right.
not that way. It is, let's get to the nuts and bolts. And I've always been somebody who wanted to go after root cause, which is part of why I went into nursing. Because I'm like, let's figure out what's broken. Let's fix the broken part, and then we healed the person. And the first few years I was in the medical system, we were still doing stuff that way, but little by little by little. And especially the biggest shift I think I saw was during COVID, and it was kind of like this mindset of people who went through their training in the medical system and during COVID. It's like, I don't have to talk to the patient. I don't have to talk to the family. Nobody else has any say in this person's well-being. I'm the master, I'm the king. And I'm like, who the hell do you think you are? Like, it drives me bonkers. But I really started seeing where they were chasing the symptoms. And I'm always like, high blood pressure is not a disease. It is a symptom of something, whether it be kidneys not filtering correctly, whether it's coronary arteries have some blockages, whether it's pulmonary hypertension in the lungs. Something in the piping is causing that pressure to be up. And that's what I'm like, let's go after what is the cause, because you could take a blood pressure pill for the rest of your life. All that has done is it works usually at the kidney level. So it hurts the kidneys over time,
Of
and
course.
it opens up your yeah, and it opens up your blood vessels giant. So if you're an 80-year-old person who has a high risk of falling, and we've got you on 2 or 3 meds that keep your blood vessels wide open and you fall down and hit your head, that's not going to be a good outcome.
Yeah.
But we're keeping your pressure low.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
matters, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So, it looks like John's impressed with me remembering my meal from years ago. Well,
Hey.
it was a weird
Well,
meal.
and
That was my depression meal. So.
I was going to say that was your support right then,
Yeah.
when you're at, so were you heavy as a kid?
I didn't really start getting
Yeah.
heavy until like it was about 10. Before that, I was as
Yeah.
skinny as a rail. But
Okay.
and then I got really big, and then I lost a few pounds, and then I got really really big and got up to 379 in
Yeah.
weight, and then I was that for a while, and then I lost weight, and how I didn't lose weight carnivore, so I don't like to give that credit.
Yeah.
I lost weight way before I went carnivore, but I did kind of went low carb, and what I did was I ended up working as a security guard at night at a mall.
Mhm.
And they would
Nice.
have you drive around
Walk.
in the security vehicle, but you'd also walk around
Walk.
overnights.
Yeah.
Well, I actually said to him, I said, "Do I have to drive the whole day?" And he's like, "Well, we want you to put like 30 miles in every day, and most people just drive around
Mhm.
slow. And I'm
Right.
like, so if I did that 30 miles within an hour, would that be okay? And they're like, well, yeah, sure, why not? So I did I drove for an hour,
And
and
then walked.
I looked at the thermometer, the speedometer, and it went to
Mhm.
30. And then as soon as I was done, parked the vehicle, went inside, and did all my rounds walking. And after a
Yeah.
while, I actually put a backpack weight vest of like 50 pounds. I didn't have my weight vest
That's
then. I just did the
I
backpack.
was gonna say you were rucking before rucking was a thing.
Yeah. And I would just walk around for 6 hours in the mall. And,
Yeah.
so that helped me lose weight. And going
Mhm.
low carb, when I say low carb, I mean, I pretty much was erasing the bread, but that was kind of on and off, like, because after
Right.
what, you'd have a hot dog and it's like, well, I have to have bread with a hot dog. It's kind of law.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, now I can have hot dogs without bread without any
Yeah.
problem, but I really don't eat hot
My
dogs that
great
often, you know?
I don't very often, once in a blue moon, but it has to be all beef because you said earlier bacon. I do love bacon, but I can't eat bacon. I can't
Oh,
do
okay.
pork, chicken. Yep, yeah, I
I
have
had
to eat
forgotten
the
about
ruminant
that.
animals,
Okay.
but
Well
that's okay.
well, Bacon
I
Runner can
did
bring the bacon
eat
to me,
ham.
unless it's beef bacon. Can you eat that?
Yeah, I can do beef bacon.
Okay,
I do that, and
alright.
so, like, with the hot dogs, that's what I do. Once in a while, I'll be like, "Boy, I really hot dog sounds good," so I'll buy a package of, the cleanest beef hot dogs, and then I'll have some of those, and I will use mustard. Mustard does not bother me. We make our own mustard, so yeah.
So, Free Thinker, and Free Thinker, I don't think I mentioned you being here. So, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I love the name too, Free Thinker.
Mhm.
What better carnivore name than that, you know?
Yeah, I like it.
Has Laura ever worked with anyone with Parkinson's? If so,
Yes.
in general, what did you advise them, diet, etc., and did they improve?
Yes. Yes, yes, and yes.
And I relate to
So,
that
I
too
have.
because my roommate has Parkinson's
Oh, yeah, good. So,
because
not
he
good
doesn't
that they
have a
have it, but
carnivore.
good that well, and so what we have done in the past is work with people not in my nursing facility capacity, but as what I do on the side with my website.
Mhm.
And so I have worked with people who had Parkinson's and Alzheimer's because a lot of times Parkinson's, you get a dual diagnosis. You also get a Alzheimer's diagnosis with that. But it makes sense because those diseases, ALS, MS, Parkinson's, all of that, has to do with the stripping down of the coating on your nerves and neurons, so your myelin sheath. So it makes sense that if you're getting Parkinson, you've got a stripped wire in there and the electricity isn't going through. So like your it's not going through, it comes out like that. And then you get these little burned areas where you get like these plaque buildup. And the plaque themselves is not what causes the condition. It's like the multitude of that. It is that most of these people are on medications to lower their cholesterol, and they're usually also on medications to lower their acids. So they're on acid blocking medicine. And those two together, in my opinion, should be absolutely illegal to be prescribed together. I wouldn't take either one separately, but I certainly wouldn't do them together because they both cross the blood brain barrier, so they don't just stay in the bloodstream, they actually cross up into the brain and they inhibit what is called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter, so it's what allows the messages to connect to each other and to cross around and get messages from one side to the other. So the first thing I always say to them is, I think you need to have a long discussion with your physician on these two things. Sometimes they're also on medications for like bladder control, so like oxybutynin and things like that. Those also are anticholinergic medications, if anybody wants to go look that up. And they also have been showing that they can disrupt these things. So what I have done with people is I'm like, get you MCT oil, and I always say if you can get C8, C10, and C12, you want the three if you can get it, and it is harder to find the one with C12. But I'm like, bulletproof coffee, bulletproof tea, doing that, getting that energy because that crosses the blood brain barrier as well, and getting away from those medications to allow the body to heal. I always tell people, they're like, well, what do I tell my doctor if I tell him I want to get off of this? And I'm like, well, first of all, he's not your dad. He ain't feeding you and he ain't, whatting you. So he can give his advice. That's what it is. You don't have to do it. I'm not saying that you should not do it on certain things, but even then, you still have the right. You have the right to refuse a med, a test, anything at any time. That's your right. Um, and so I just tell them, go in there with some physiology. Ask them like, how much cholesterol is riding around in my body created by my liver? And they're like, oh. And I'm like, because it can be up to 85%. That was put there by God. That wasn't done on accident. And I don't think he was trying to give us all heart disease and strokes. That wouldn't make sense. And
Yeah,
so then I'm
I'm always
always,
flabbergasted by that.
yeah. And I'm like, and then ask them, what does the molecule cholesterol do inside the body? And so I tell them, like, the precursor for all of your hormones, your sexual hormones, it is what helps your vitamin D absorb. It is what takes your immune cells and drives them and drops them off. Your LDL is like a train. Your immune cells, your D, your hormones, ride on that and get dropped off. So like during the pandemic, what we would see is that patients who had been on statins and had really low LDL in their cholesterol, that their immune system was nothing. They had no vitamin D level to speak of, 20s, low 20s a lot of times, and those people didn't come off the vent. Whether this is before they were given the poisonous remdesivir and all that stuff, but they just didn't do as well as people who had higher cholesterol. So with any kind of, like I said, ALS, MS, Parkinson's, dementia, any of those, I always think you need to get that MCT oil. You need to get the C8, C10, C12. You need to integrate that and get rid of as many inflammatory foods as possible. Sugars, carbs. I really would stay off of those as much as possible. It's not like, if you want to do Christmas and you go, crazy, that's okay. But it doesn't take very long, 6 months to a year, and you really start seeing significant improvements on most people that follow that. And I mean, there's been several people, I think maybe you've seen them on Dave's, that have MS. And by doing this higher fat and stuff, that they're completely in remission. And it supposedly that's something you're never going to be able to do. But that's what I would recommend. And if you can stay and never have to get to that diagnosis, that's the best. But even if you get that diagnosis, that is exactly what I would do. If it was my husband, that's it. He wouldn't even have a choice. I'm just going to be honest. I would just do it, and there would be no choice.
Just sneak it in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He
That's
wouldn't
funny.
know.
That's funny. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your website. So how did you start that? Like what brought that out? And
Well, yeah. So I mean, I've been doing this. It'll be this next year. It'll be 35 years. I'm almost to that
long
35-year
time.
mark of long time. But I've been, once I started figuring out, I'm a conspiracy theorist, admitted tinfoil hat wearer from day one, have been my whole life,
Okay.
raised by a grandmother who came through Auschwitz, and her and my great grandmother were the only two out of 13 who made it over here. And so I grew up listening to the propaganda that was thrown out, just the stuff. And so the more I would hear that, I'm like, I don't trust that. I don't trust this lettered agency. I will find out myself. Um, and so when I started figuring out, well, if they're poisoning our food, are they poisoning my lotion? And what about my deodorant and my shampoo and my tooth powder and fluoride and all these things? And so I just started digging in. I'm very fortunate. The area I live in, I had somebody recently. I was seeing the spouse as a patient, and she knew that I had worked with this physician. Was a lady physician who was an MD, but she was an herbalist on top of it. So she knew a lot of like the herbal tincture type stuff, like I did. She actually had her PDR, which is a physician desk reference book. So it's huge, massive book, massive. And it was this doctor's book. This lady had worked for her for 25 years. And she said, one day she just walked up and said, I want you to have this. And I was like, oh my God. It was like the best thing you could ever have. So I said, well, I can't accept a gift. So I crochet blankets. So I took her a blanket the next day and we traded. But I went through that book and saw a lot of that stuff. So what happened was I've been making for many, many, many eons. I've been making my own tinctures. I've been making my own tooth powders. Yep. I've been making my own lotions, deodorant, shampoo, conditioner. Conditioner is a newer one. I had somebody ask me about that probably 4 years ago. So I started making that. Chapstick, anything like that. And so I had been doing that for a long time, and just word of mouth around here and friends and family and Christmas and birthday gifts I've been doing. And then somebody I was doing a broadcast with said she's way more techie than I am in computer stuff. She says, girl, you need a website. And I was like, this girl don't know how to hardly turn on the computer, and you think I'm going to build a website? And she was like, just go here and do this and they'll help you build it. And it was free. It's a free website. I didn't pay for the website. I mean, it's crazy. But they literally built that. I had to go in and learn how to add in my products, put on there this has not been approved by FDA, all the stuff that you have to do. and I just threw it out there, and I mean, I work full time as a nurse. I don't have tons of extra time, but this was just supposed to kind of be like a side gig thing. But now I do it about 40% of the time. So, but I purposely keep the prices extremely low. And when I say low, like my tallow shampoo bars, I charge $8 for. And I had bought natural shampoo bars before, and it wasn't anything to spend $20 on a bar. And so I'm like, does it cost that much to make it? And so as I was making these things, I'm like, it doesn't cost that. Like I do about 50 cents above cost. And then I usually lose most of that in the shipping because I charge a flat shipping rate. Someday I may have to bump that up if that's all I'm doing for a living. So, but right now I like to keep it reasonably priced so that everybody can afford it if they're on like fixed income. I have a lot of people that are on like social security and disability and stuff,
Mhm.
um, that are all over, I mean, all over the country. And I want them to be able to have the better quality natural stuff to put on their skin, or, brushing their teeth with the mineralizing tooth powder, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, my tax lady last year when we did my taxes, she's tallying everything, and she goes, "Well, you made $186 this year." And I said, "Okay." And she goes, "That's for your business." And I said, "Yeah, that's okay." And she goes, "Well, you can't run a business like that very long." I said, "Well, that's not my full-time business. Like I'm a nurse,
Right.
and
Like, it's
this
not
is
my
just
full
what
time.
I."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, now if something would ever happen and I decided to leave the nursing field and I went into that full time, maybe I would bump some of that stuff up a little bit. Probably not much because I'm just not in it for that reason. I'm just not. So, but yeah, I enjoy working with clients. So on that website, on that front page, there's a place where they can like book with Laura Lynn, Nurse Laura Lynn, or speak to a nurse, I think is what it's called, or they can click on and see products. But I enjoy doing those where I can talk one on one with people. Um, One of the very first people I worked with on my website almost 2 years ago, um, lost I mean, considerable amount of weight, and what a little bit younger than us, I think, 49 at now, and they turned around their fatty liver disease from the most serious I've ever seen in my life, not only just looking at it on scan, but his AST and his ALT numbers. I've never seen them as high as they were. And he was able to completely get that reversed in 6 months' time. Just nothing. I mean, looks like a brand new liver, like when you see it on scan or when you saw his numbers. And so that part's kind of nice, because you get to see people improve, even if it's baby steps of this. I've had some that it was like hair loss was their biggest main concern. I mean, I've had all different kinds of things, but yeah, I'm very frugal. And so I don't expect for people to pay a lot of money for something and it's not necessary. So that is kind of how my website came about.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah, my boss was asking me just today, actually. He goes, "Do you make much money off of YouTube?" I'm like, "Well, no, but I'm not doing it to really make I'm not really doing it
Mm-mm.
to make money. It wasn't really my intent. I mean,
Yeah,
there's probably people out there that are trying to make a few
sure.
dollars, but,
Yeah,
yeah.
I could care less.
I mean, if I start making money, I'd love to make it in about 10 years when I'm retired. When I
Yeah,
decide I'm gonna do, because I'd rather, because there's so many talks about Social Security ending by a certain time and everything. So by the time we're 65, it's possible that could happen. But
absolutely.
so I wouldn't mind making a little extra without having to
Sure.
actually go back to work. But
Yeah.
right now, I'd rather just be working anyway.
Yeah.
I spent 3 years not working. I don't want to. I want to stop. I want to
Go
start
back.
moving again. Yeah. So if
Right.
and I am making more now than I was a year ago. Definitely.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't even know. I'm not even sure if I would know how to go out there and even look to see that because I don't know. And
well, I
so,
mean, I know I have memberships now, so I know a few people join my
yeah,
members. I have no idea what to do.
right.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's only
Well,
like three,
I
three or
do
four
know that.
people.
I Yeah, I do know that you can, like, if you do a live, like not through a streaming service, but if you actually go from your YouTube and do live, when you go to click on that, because I'll do
I would
like
put down members
cooking
only,
videos.
right, and I could do that
Yes.
for
And
videos
so,
too. I could do it,
okay.
when
Okay.
when I put a video out, I can put it down that members see it first
Okay.
and,
Okay. Because
and
I was
everything.
going to say, I know you can do that because
Yeah.
of
Well, I
all the
know that
stuff that
that's
I make.
yeah. I just
Yeah.
don't
But
know, you know? Yeah,
yeah.
but,
But and I don't go out and spend time looking at that. The other thing too is when especially last year when I had a little more time than I have this year, I would show you I would do a video on how to make the product that I'm getting ready to put on my website. You can make it too. So I'm like, if
mhm,
you'd prefer to make it yourself, this is and I would step by step by step. This is how you make it. This is what you do. Because ultimately, it's not about me making money. It's about you getting to the healthier version of you, and that's fine. I don't but, a lot of people don't wanna have 74 different bottles of essential oils and stuff sitting around in their house,
yeah,
and I make most of my own essential oils, not all of them, but I do make the majority of mine, so
mm,
pretty easy process.
yeah, that's true. So Kelly, Broken Carnivore is here. Hello, Kelly. How are you
Okay.
doing? I know we know him because I've seen him several times
Yep,
with Russ.
yep.
And he's been on my channel too. He's another one that made me lucky in this world. And then Coach Angela Mullen, same thing. She says they've been talking about SSI ending since I was a kid. Yeah, they've
Oh,
been
yeah,
doing it for a long time. I
yeah.
think it always depends on who's in office and stuff
In
like that.
power.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's funny, Thomas. So when I was a small child, my grandmother lived right next door, and so, I heard all of her stories, and she, came over to the country, of course, after, World War II and all that stuff had ended, and she was glad to become a United States citizen. She assimilated, unlike what we see today, and she, was grateful that was there, that she could work and pay into it. But she always was in my ear saying, "This is not a given. This is not a given. You need to get into 401k. You need to do these types of things, like have these accounts." And really, she just called them bank accounts because at the time there wasn't a lot of that.
Hmm.
But she just always, and so from the very first job I ever had, a paying job other than babysitting or mowing yards or scooping snow, where I was actually paying into anything, I have always had either a Roth or a 401k with every place I've ever worked, and I just leave them alone. Like if I leave that place, they stay. I let them do their thing, and then I started a new place. I start another one and do that, and I've done that because I don't trust that that's going to be there. Plus, I don't like to be under the control of any government, whether it's one that I think I like better than maybe the last one, doesn't matter. I don't like them having that kind of control over people. So that's why I'm a prepper.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean, to be
I'm not
honest.
gonna say that I was as smart as you are, but, because I didn't make those decisions, financially with the Roth or anything like that. I
Mhm,
did have a
mhm,
Roth
mhm,
with one of my jobs, and I became like it was a desperation. I wanted to save it, wanted to keep it, but I needed the money really
mhm.
badly, and it was like one of those, like, desperations that made
Well, at
me.
least you had already paid your taxes on it, so you didn't get taxes.
No, no,
You'd
I mean,
already
I
paid
got a
it
little
when
bit
you
of a
do it.
penalty for taking out, but, wasn't anything huge, at least that I
Yeah.
remember, you know? But, Rick actually says, yeah, I actually 2 things he says that he says, "SSI will never end, but inflation will make it worthless." That's
Yep.
probably true. And then he
That is
says, "I have a
correct.
lot of respect for immigrants who become citizens." I do too. I actually knew this lady
Me
that was, a tailor for my boss, and she came
Mhm.
from, oh god, the one that's fighting with Russia. I keep on
Oh,
forgetting it.
Ukraine.
Ukraine.
Mhm.
She was Ukrainian,
Yep.
very nice lady. Her name was,
Yep.
Zoriana,
Yep.
and,
Yep.
she was in she was in the country, and she went through
Mhm.
all the process and everything
Yep.
like that, and
Yep. Yeah,
we all had so much respect for her because she was going through
absolutely.
everything and doing
And it's hard. It's not
it's
easy.
it's
We
not
we
easy.
take it for granted because we're born into it.
Right.
Like, when I saw what my grandmother had to go through, like being able to know the Constitution, the Bill of I mean, they have to be able to recite this stuff.
Yep.
I know how to do it now because I taught myself, but my school sure didn't teach me, and a very minimal amount of that stuff. But yeah, she was very much and it took my grandmother, I think it was a 10-year process for her to get it done. Now most of the time they can get it done in 5
I
years.
think Zoriana got it done in 5 years, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's yeah, it's still a process,
yeah,
but yeah, she and oh my god, she was such a great tailor too. She actually
yeah,
took this might impress you. There was this girl, bride, because we did tailoring for bride, like dresses too and stuff like that.
sure, sure.
And this bride comes in with a dress from her grandmother. Now, her grandmother was a very big, bustly woman. She was about size
Mhm.
16. This girl was about size 2, maybe not
Oh
even.
boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she comes in, she really wants to wear her grandmother's dress. Now, obviously, she can't because it
Mm,
has all this bead, like pearls, everything. Like it's really, really
right.
embellished. She actually
Yeah.
took that dress and turned it to fit the girl
Oh, wow.
without
Good
ruining
for her. Wow.
and I even
She's
said to her, I
talented.
said, "If you did this for Chaz before you even got the job, you would definitely have been hired."
Yeah,
Because if
yeah,
that did not and Chaz is looking at me like my old boss, he's like, "Y damn right."
yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah, he's pretty lucky he has her, for sure.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if she's still there or not because I'm not working for him, so I can't see, but, and COVID changed a lot for him, I think,
Yeah,
but he has about 3 different tailors. He has 2 Italians and then
yeah,
her, and then I think oh, and the 4th
yeah,
lady too is some lady from Japan that's actually
yeah.
pretty good, but yeah,
That
if I could even do half the work that they could do, like, all I could do is
yeah,
like, do a blind stitch on hemming pants, and I could hand
yeah,
stitch, hemming
I
a
can do
jacket.
that.
Yeah.
Yep, I can do that. That's about it. If you want any fancier than that, like, my grandmother could do, like, the buttonholes by hand,
Oh,
and I'm just
I
like,
could do well, the
"Wow."
buttonholes I can't do, but I can do the
Yeah.
buttons. I can
Yeah,
sit
I can do the buttons, but I can't do
and
the
suspender
buttonholes.
buttons, I can do that. I can do suspenders, buttons,
Yeah.
sure, like all that stuff. I used to be able to iron very well, like shirts, like nice and crisp.
Ugh,
Um,
nah,
I know I hated it, but I
there
was able to like
there
I would do
is
about 40,
there's
50 shirts
n
a day. So I mean, you
oh
become
god.
very good. And
Oh,
and
yeah,
I used to be the guy that like when you unpackage a shirt, like a men's shirt,
yeah.
I used to be the guy that put it back together again.
Oh my.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
lot of work,
Where you put all the
because
little pins in and put everything back
yeah,
together. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, so,
I would
that was
stab
one thing I
myself,
do
I
not
know me.
miss. That's my boss would have me do it every single time. He's like, "You're really good at it." I'm like, "So I'm being cursed to do it over and over again?" You know? It's
Yeah, that's true. Mhm.
like, it's not you're not rewarding me, Jazz, you're punishing me.
Yeah, yeah. I don't wanna do it again.
He'd laugh, he'd be like, "Here."
Here's another stack.
Here's another yeah, here's another 9 shirts.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm just trying to see if I can see anything. Hey, if anybody has any more questions, put a
I
cute
think
going
It's not a question, it's a statement that yeah, I'm
okay,
not sure what all it said.
alright. So, I am much older than Laura, and I many things in many places. That's what my grandparents taught. My papa always said, "You didn't do it right, or they can find all your assets in 24 hours, LOL."
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's why you want physical stuff. So, like, several years ago, I woke up, like, at 2 in the morning from having a dream, and I don't generally remember my dreams, but
right,
it was like, "You need to buy gold," and I had, like, $5,000 that I'd kinda saved up at the time, and I just had it in a lock box, the fire safe box, and I was like, "Buy gold? Why would I buy gold?" So I called my financial guy, and I was like, "I wanna buy $5,000 worth of gold," and he goes, "Oh, just, annuities, like," and I said, "No, no, no, I don't want it out there, and I don't I want it. I want it in hand," and he was like, "Oh." And he's like, "Well, yeah, we could do that." So, the Brinks truck and all that shows up at my husband's work because nobody's usually here at the home. So, we got that. And he goes, really? And this, it was kind of a flat market at the time. And 13 days later, it doubled. And he calls me and he goes, "Who's the financial advisor?" And I was like, "Hey, I just did what my dream said to do. I have
Right.
no clue. Believe me,
Like,
I'm not sitting around looking at the markets. I couldn't tell you. I just went with my gut." And I did the same thing with like silver and stuff like that. But that's part of growing up with parents that went through either like, or grandparents that went through the depression. They knew to always have small bills, change, things that even if the economy would collapse, you're still going to be able to trade those kind of things to people, average people. You're not going to be able to go to the grocery store necessarily, but that's why you need to be prepared a little bit, even just a little, just so you're not at their mercy for that kind of stuff.
yeah, it's true. That's true. I mean, I mean, we're probably talking more about that kind of stuff than I normally do because I'm not really, I'm not really that financially stable, but
Yeah,
I'm more stable than
yeah,
most people, but not as much as
yeah.
most people as well. But so that's cool. I didn't really expect to learn that kind of stuff.
Mhm. Hey, it's all I figure
It's all
your
full
health is
circle, right?
important, yes, but, you need to be able to stay like, if you get yourself to a healthy state, you want to be able to make sure that you have like, say you take K2D3, you wanna make sure that you've got 4 or 5 of those bottles if you can, a little at a time, buy ahead and put up. Same with like iodine. If you do the iodines, have anytime you can get ahead, get 1 or 2 extra ahead. Buying like canned cod liver oil, cod liver. Oh, I'm not a fan of it, but if I'm starving, I'm going to eat it before I'm going to eat beans. I can promise you.
Right.
But having those little bit of things, and when I first started out prepping was because of my grandmother. I mean, it may be buy a bag of beans and a bag of rice and put that up, and just little bitty things like that. Because even if I'm absolutely starving to death, I'll probably eat that, but I'm gonna be pissy about it. I'm gonna be honest. But I'm going to eat my meats that I have canned. I have butter that I have canned. I have hundreds of quarts of tallow canned, and you can survive off of tallow for a very long time, or lard or coconut oil. So it can be done. It's not going to be, I probably wouldn't be able to eat any of those products for a long time if I had to do it that way, but
Right.
it is something that can be done. But I just started buying like an extra can of tuna or an extra thing of this or that because it's also things that you can barter and trade with if you would ever need to. And hopefully we never have to. I hope that it's not something that we ever have to do, but I think it's a good thing to have a little bit of a stockpile. And it doesn't have to be massive. I know people that got like, 16 by 20 rooms completely packed. And I'm like, what are you going to do as that stuff spoils? Like, you got a little overboard. And I think you can get a little too much. So,
Right. No, I agree. I agree. Yeah, Rick is saying that beans make him violently ill and rice gives him diarrhea.
mm,
Um,
I haven't had either for so long. I don't even know. I can't
Beans I've
even
never actually
imagine. But
had. I had beans
yeah,
once in my life. I don't like them. I'm sorry. I
yeah,
never did. They
I didn't.
taste like mush to me. Um,
Yes.
especially
But the
when
outside is hard.
they have
Ugh,
like a gravy on them. That doesn't make it any better. Like mushy, like
no.
mushy gravy. And
Yeah.
I did have lentil beans once, and they were
Yep.
I kind of swallowed them whole though, so you really can't tell. And even with
Yeah, who
peas,
knows?
I even lima like I always make the joke. The only beans I like is lima and jelly. You know,
Yeah,
um, which now I
yeah,
don't even eat either. I don't eat any of them either.
yeah,
But yeah, I definitely
yeah,
the last time I had rice was probably right before, maybe about a month or two before I actually became carnivore.
yeah.
So
I think the only way I would ever do rice, like I said, I would have to be starving to death, but it is where they say you cook it and then you put it in the refrigerator overnight,
okay,
and then you warm it back up the next day because it converts the carbohydrates are converted in that heating process, cooling process, and then you heating it again. And people who like wear those CGMs, you don't see those spikes in their blood sugar near as much. But I'm still going to have to be starving before I ever put that in my body because I
But,
agree with
I would
him.
still
I
have
think
to.
it's duck food.
Yeah, 2 things with that. One, that's too
Yeah.
much work. Um,
Yeah. Like Russ, if it includes the kitchen, he ain't doing
yeah,
it.
and 2, I mean, like, one of the things they say, and I've heard a few people agree with this, that, like, no one realizes, like, fruit. When you eat fruit, it doesn't really show up on the CGM because for
Mhm.
some reason fructose doesn't
Goes to the liver.
it goes
It
right to the
doesn't go into
liver
the
and doesn't go
bloodstream.
to the
Yep,
bloodstream. So
right,
it makes me wonder if it's still doing something.
right,
Even, I'm trying
right.
to say that there's
Mhm.
still a problem with it. They might not show up
Yeah.
anymore,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
that it could still be either going right to the liver like the other stuff, or it's just doing something that's just not
Not being picked
uh,
up.
right. I mean, I could be
Yeah,
wrong, but
yeah.
um, and everything. So, can you just excuse me for 1 second? I'm going to have you.
Yep.
I'm just going to leave the.
Let's see. So, let's see what I could talk about to keep you guys entertained for a moment. Um, so I'm gonna ask a question for any of you guys out there. If it when it comes to like deer hunting, are any of you guys deer hunters out there or grew up in a family who does any kind of deer hunting? So I want to see if there's anybody out there who's done that. That's something I have done since I was a little kid. And I find that like on my channel, there are some people that are like, yeah, we did hunting or trapping or, fishing. But then I've ran into a lot of people. I have a lot of people on my channel that have grown up in Chicago. They might be 3 generations deep in Chicago, and they're like, never did any of that kind of stuff. Um, so which I always I mean, I I sit back and I think I like where I live because I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I can do that kind of stuff. And I'd like to go into the city to visit, but I don't know. I don't think I could go there and stay permanently. But those people probably couldn't come out here and stay because it's dead quiet, at night. There's just no sound. And, when you're used to hearing a lot of stuff go on, it would be, it'd be kind of a different scenario. But yeah, I love to deer hunt. So, oh, good enough says, yep, I love deer hunting.
Yep.
All the
And
deer are going here. Oh,
yeah. Well, are there much deer in Miami? I don't know.
yeah.
And
Mm,
Jiffy says seasoned deer hunter and raise them as well. You haven't lived till a buck charges you while
mm.
interfering his with his mate. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
I
Lewis
I
is
have I've
asking
been
a
hit by a
question.
deer. Oh, okay. Sure.
Um, Hello, Lewis. Let's talk about venison. My family hunts deer, and I have access to venison. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. What's the best cuts? How do you cook it?
Yeah. So I use every part of the deer, including kidneys, liver, heart if I don't shoot it, but that's usually what I shoot. So I a lot of times don't get the heart. So I make a lot of hamburger, but that's not the only thing I do with it. But I take a lot of it and grind it into hamburger. I put ribeye fat in there, grind that together with it. Then sometimes I will mix in a little liver or kidney, mix in. You can't taste it, can't smell it, don't know it's there. It's just kind of combined. And we'll have that. And of course, hamburgers are versatile. You can do anything you want with it. But then I cut up deer steaks and I will cut that up from the hind quarters and you butterfly them so they kind of lay like this. And you can tenderize them. And what I usually do is I take butter and tallow and get it really hot in a pan and I sear both sides. And then I turn it down very, very low and just let it sit in there for about another 5 minutes. And it's easy. You can cut right into it. It's very good. I also can a lot of my deer, so I cold pack it is what that's called. And then you can pull it right off the shelf, grab it, pop it open. If you didn't have a heat source, you could eat it right out of it. So that's what I do with my I love squirrels.
Yeah,
Squirrel
it's,
is good.
Kelly is mentioning that I will
Mhm.
learn to eat squirrels or wild rabbit when times get tough before I eat duck food.
That's
That
very
is
good.
that is true.
Yeah, and rabbit is very good. It's a very red meat when you because my husband shoots rabbits. Um, the only reason I don't shoot rabbits is because they weigh like 2 pounds, and I'm like, is it worth all my time? I'm going to get 2 ounces of something out of it,
Yeah,
but
so you're not
you
gonna
know,
get that much. Yeah.
no, yeah, my doe this year was 140 pounds after being field dressed, which is pretty good. So all the insides were out. So the actual weight was so it was a lot.
Yeah, my sister used to have a rabbit that hissed and snapped at everybody.
Oh,
Yeah. It's like this angry
yeah,
rabbit, you know? It was "Yeah, you're definitely my
mad
sister's pet," you know?
Mad Hatter.
Um, Angela says, and I sort of have like a joke in my head, but I don't know if it makes my like I don't know if I can express it the right way. So I don't know. You can come with like my dad with beer hunting with went beer hunting with a camera. So why did he use
Mhm.
a gun? Because like do you usually shoot with a camera? Is that what it is? Like
Well,
that was a
a lot
joke.
of people yeah, but, some people do actually like, I do know people who go out and just literally are watching and taping and videoing animals out in
Right,
the wild, which is fine too,
right.
but I
Like
do
bird
know a lot
watching
of
basically.
people Yes, yes, but I do know a lot of people that hunt, and they'll have, like, is it a GoPro or something, digital camera
Mhm.
that you can put, like, on your hat, belly of your hat, you can have it on your bow, you can have it on your gun, there's different things that you can do. I've never done that, but I do know people who do.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
yeah, my
really just
joke
out
was
there for
basically like when
food.
you shoot a camera, like when you
Yeah, and you're
shoot.
shooting the camera.
Yeah, yeah.
Back
Like,
in the
is that
day, back when we were kids, it was shooting the camera.
Right,
Now it's
yeah, I
like
know, like
everything's
yeah,
digital.
I remember my first Polaroid, it was like
And the little cubes on top for
Yep.
your
Oh,
flash.
I remember those cameras too, yeah.
Yeah.
The Polaroid was like kind of like this, "Oh my god, I
Oh,
get my pictures
uptown.
instantly."
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we had a lot of fun. I mean, kids are a little bit too spoiled now with their, um
They are spoiled. I agree.
so Jiffy is
Lot of
saying, "At my
rabbit.
dad's funeral cookout, we had fox squirrels and
Oh,
redfish. That's what he wanted."
wow.
What,
Oh, good for him.
I have to admit, I'm a little,
It's
naive.
just the breed. It's just the type. So you have
Oh,
different
okay.
types of squirrels. You have different types. That's pretty interesting. A person that I took care of many, many, like 2 decades ago, was an avid hunter. He kind of helped start the gun club that's in our area for everybody. A lot of youth go there. The school goes there in our area for learning how to shoot trap and gun safety, which I do like the gun safety. But anyway, when he passed away, his family called and said, "We want you to be out there at the gun club at 3 o'clock after the funeral or after they do their part, the visitation thing." And I was like, okay. And they said, "Bring your gun." And I'm like, which one? Because I maybe have more than one. And so they said, "Well, you can bring this gauge or this gauge." And I'm like, okay. So I get out there and they have this beautiful wood box with like gold. I mean, it was just beautiful. And they flip it open and he had been cremated and put in all these shells. And he wanted to be shot out of our guns over that gun range that he had worked on his whole life, building it up for the youth and for everybody to have. And so that's what we did with his music playing in the background. Yeah, it was
Oh
actually
my god.
so cool. It sounds crazy to somebody who didn't grow up around guns, but it was so neat to see that. It was it made a fog. It was just yeah, it was pretty cool. I thought, well, that's pretty neat to think about that.
Wow. Holy. Oh, um, okay. While you were talking, I was listening, don't get me wrong, but I just got a text from my boss asking if I wanna come back into work.
Oh, make some money.
Yeah, I'm just with my cold and everything like that, I like to rest a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, don't run yourself down.
Yeah. So, uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, he knows I'm doing a live, so I'll wait until after I'm done. I still have to, make something for my roommate too, so I told him
Yeah.
I cook for him, so I mean, I probably could for 3 hours, it wouldn't be, and I'm off, like, tomorrow anyway, so I don't know. I'll think about it.
You'll contemplate it.
I'll contemplate it, yeah, because 'cause I'm
Mm.
already dressed.
Mhm.
You know how
Yeah,
that
once I
is.
get home I
Yeah,
do. Once I get home, if I get out of my nursing uniform now, I do call. So, like, if a patient calls, but they don't care if you show up in your human clothes or your scrubs.
right,
Like, if
they
they
just
need
want you
you
to be
now,
there. Yeah, they just want you to help.
they're like, bring your stethoscope, bring your blood pressure, all these things or a dressing or
Yeah.
whatever it is
You
that
could
they
wear
have
a
going on.
tuxedo or you could wear, like, a toga, they don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, they wouldn't care. Yeah, they just need somebody to help, so they're not picky about that, but generally, if I get home, like and I am a homebody, if I get home and I get out of my scrubs, I'm probably not leaving the house. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it would have to be something pretty major. I'm not leaving the house, whether it's I'm going to come in this room here and work on my products, work on getting packages out, stuff like that. Everybody's stuff that they bought like the day before Christmas, Christmas Day, or the day after does go out Monday. So everybody's stuff will be sent out because our little post office decided to take off Friday and Saturday. I went up this morning and nobody was there. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I had everybody's stuff ready to go, but I guess I'll bring it back home. And then I got like four more orders. So I'll just take it all up there Monday. So your tincture will be coming.
Oh, I'm sure it will be. I'm not worried about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not worried. The only funny thing is, though, it's probably gonna come right when my cold's not there.
Probably, but I will tell you this, so it's good to have on hand a
Oh, no,
lot like
always.
same with like the oregano oil. And anytime if you start to feel like, pressure in the sinuses or a little scratchy throat, good time. Don't wait till you get full on. I mean, it's still going to help you, but boy, is just go ahead and get it started.
Yeah, I didn't
Get
order
it
the
get it on
oregano
there.
because I know I still have some. I just had to I think it fell behind
Find it.
my desk, so I have to just pull out the
Oh,
desk and grab it.
yeah.
But,
Yeah. That oregano oil is one of the most it's probably one of the most potent things that people can make, and they don't have to buy mine. They can make their own. I mean, it's very simple. It's a very simple thing to do, but it works so well. I have lots of allergies to like cats, dogs, dander, dust, and I live in the middle of a cornfield. But I used to get sinus infections all the time, and my sinus infections always lead to an ear infection because that swelling won't allow stuff to drain. And anytime I start to get that, I can take a Q-tip and I can put that on there. I put it up my nose, kind of pinch my nose to pull the Q-tip out to drop off the oil, sniff it in, and then put a couple drops in my ear. I haven't had a sinus infection or an ear infection in years since I started doing that. And I'm like, this is
it's
because
so
I don't
simple.
want to have to yeah, I mean, it's the simplest thing, and then it works very well, especially, like, for you on diabetic wounds. You can oh my god, I have seen that work so well on either diabetic wounds or, peripheral vascular disease where you have, like, the peripheral vascular issues of blood flow to the legs, whether it's diabetes caused or not. I'll tell you one. So I had a gal who I wasn't seeing her, I was seeing her husband. He's a VA patient and was seeing him in home health. And we were just discussing different things. He had some neuropathy and things like that. And so I was like, well, and she's into essential oils, this wife. So she goes, well, what could I do for his legs? And I was like, well, you could get castor oil, organic olive oil. You could put some turmeric, some cayenne, some frankincense, some lavender, and a little bit of eucalyptus and mix that into a bottle and rub that on those legs and open up those blood vessels and get that back to those nerves. And so she started doing that. Well, then she showed me on her leg, she had a wound about this big around, a perfect circle, that she had been going to the wound clinic 3 times a week for 2 years, and they couldn't get it to heal. And her legs were kind of purpley. And I was like, oh, I was like, you probably should be doing that as well to your legs. Kind of let's get this vascular kind of happy and get blood flow down there, because it's hard to heal those areas when the stuff to heal you is in your bloodstream and you can't get it to the area. And so she started doing that. And she, of course, she wasn't my patient, so I wasn't checking her legs or anything. I was just seeing how he was doing. And after about 3 or 4 weeks, she says, "Hey, let me show you my legs." So she pulls up her pant legs, and they were purpley, ruddy colored all the way down from her knees to her ankles. And I said, "Oh, your legs are peach. I mean, they just look like normal skin." And she goes, "No, look at the sore." And I was like, "Oh, it was gone." Now she had like the pink tissue where it had healed over. And she said, "I just want to let you know that they fired me." And I said, "Who fired you?" And she said, "The wound clinic fired her because she did something natural and it was healed, and they were mad at her." And I was like, "That's sad." I think you would be like, "How did you do that in 4 or 5 weeks when we've been doing all of our stuff for 2 years?" Eh, I just was like, "Wow, that's sad." But I was happy. It's healed up. Her legs look normal. She's like, "I can wear a dress again and not," which I know that's vain, but she's like, "I can wear
No,
dresses to church."
I
Yeah.
can I can I can I can understand that,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, because even if you're not a vain person, vanity does come into play, like,
Yeah.
I know with my foot, it took me a while to be able to face people to see my feet
Right.
because,
Right.
and I still don't, like, in public, like, I will on my channel
Mhm.
and stuff, but
Right.
I don't go out and, like, go out into the wild, into the open
Yeah.
doors and show things off,
Right.
but,
Yeah.
yeah, it takes a long time, so no, I get it,
Yeah.
you're not vain when
Yeah.
because so many things are, it's yeah. Um, so, George is saying he tried to win a hat or shirt on Kilts. I actually won the hat
Oh.
from Dr. Nelson,
Oh.
so I'm yet to get my hat. That was kind of funny
Nice.
how I won it too. Actually, the actual person that won that drawing was Dr. Kiltz.
Oh, there you go.
And, Dr. Kiltz never takes the prize. He always says, so he
Right.
says as a guest, he says, "You pick the winner." And I
Yeah.
made a comment, I said, "Oh, this," like, just as a joke, as soon as Kiltz won, I said, "Oh, this is fixed," like, this is, and,
That's right. This is a
and
setup.
and I guess Ali or Dr. Nelson put it up on the screen, so he's like, "There, we'll pick that guy." So, that was funny. I forget who the guest
Mhm.
was, so I'm sorry if I forgot, but yeah, yeah, it's like, "This is rigged." Yeah.
Yeah, I was on with Dr. Nelson a couple, has it been 3 weeks now? It might have been 3 weeks ago. I'm trying to think.
I
Yeah.
think I remember that. It
Um,
was about 2 or 3 weeks.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't remember him doing a drawing during that one, but it was an afternoon one
Mhm. 3
with,
o'clock,
yeah,
right
mhm,
before
yep,
mine.
so it was yep,
Yeah.
yep, so,
See, I know these
yeah.
things.
That's right, you are in the know, that's good.
I try as much as I can. I know he did an interview with Jen Mann, which is actually gonna be my next guest for
Awesome,
my New Year's Day,
good,
because
good.
that's my carniversary, so she's gonna be on my
Oh,
carniversary
sweet,
special. So, yeah, I
perfect.
hope I hope you can watch that,
Oh,
obviously.
yeah,
It's like,
absolutely, I love her, she's sweet.
yeah, um
I can't imagine having triplets, I can't even imagine.
I know, well, I love having everybody on, but,
Yeah,
you think about it, she started carnivore after both her
way
husband
after.
and her
Yep,
daughters, and that's an interesting story in itself,
Yeah,
but also the
absolutely.
triplets, you know, she's come a long way,
Oh
since
my,
the beginning, and I have a lot of
absolutely.
respect for her. I really do.
Yeah.
You know, um, but I
And
I'm I'm
she
doing I'm doing hers a little differently, than I do
mhm,
everybody else, including yours. I'm actually gonna
yeah,
premiere my video that I made. It's 1 year in the making, so,
nice.
yeah, I
Pretty
already
fancy.
emailed her what I'm doing and everything, so she didn't respond to that, but I'm sure she's okay with that, I
Yeah,
can't see I can't see her being like, "No, I wanna do it this way," I can't see her being
yeah. Nah, I'd say they probably get a lot of emails.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I don't really have her email, I only have Carrie's, so it's whether or not Carrie passes the message on to her too, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't see him not passing the message on to her, and she probably has
yeah,
access to it anyway, with them being
yeah.
married and everything.
Yeah.
Um, Bride's Biscuit says, "I wanna see Methuselah. I think it's called that 5,000-year-old tree in California." Okay.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I've never been to California. Um,
Neither have I.
my husband would like to go see the redwoods. I just and I think where the redwoods are at, I probably would be safe to go there, but I'm just not probably the person that you want to take in public in all of the places. So I just think some areas I should not go to. I think
And
the
this is a
center
pretty
of
nice
a few
compliment.
places.
Jiffy says, "Thank you, Thomas and Laura, for this live. I
Yeah.
really did need this today." Well, I'm glad we were able to, make
Entertain you.
make you feel better. Yeah. Um, and just got my half 30-minute notice saying that we have to end in 30 minutes, so, okay. Thank you, StreamYard, for
Yeah,
letting me
yeah.
I forgot
Bossing me
I
around.
forgot how to tell time, Um, George has so much information. Have you ever seen George Goodenough? He's like the historian of carnivore.
He is yeah, he was talking on, I think it was I'm trying to think if it was um, we be grilling that I did with Russ a few weeks ago, or if it was last week's that was on there. Like I wasn't on there, but I was watching
Right.
because I was already dressed. I was dressed for bed by like 6:05, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not jumping on." Nobody wants to see me in camouflage pajamas. Let's just be honest. And I was like, I will just be in the comments lurking that way. But I did see a lot of his stuff in there. So, yeah, I love. That is the thing that I think there's always stuff to learn for everybody. Like I've had people go, "Oh, you're the smartest person." No, I'm not. And I always have stuff to learn, and you learn by other people. So like even in my nursing career, whether you're the top of the class or not, once you get out of nursing school, they teach you a little bitty snippet. And then you go out to your hospital or wherever it is you're going to work. And where you truly learn and where good doctors learn is by their patients and by the family of the patients and the questions that are asked. Because, I can remember the first 6 months being a nurse that they'd ask me a question. And I was like, I don't have a damn clue, but I'm going to go find the answer for you. And then from that day on, I knew that. And so, you always have stuff to learn. I always say if there comes a day where you aren't learning something, something's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're learning something every day, so, whether or not we
Yeah.
retain it is a different story, but there's always something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to put it into to action, but
Right.
sometimes it's that you've learned something.
It's
And it
it's
may be learning that, hey, I don't want to do that, or this is
yeah.
something I might change. You never know.
It's a consideration, so to speak, yeah.
Right.
But George is pretty good. But, like, he's the excuse me for 1 second.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know if you can actually hear me when
Yeah.
I cough, but
Nope.
okay, good. Um,
Nope.
that's good because I don't wanna shock you, "Oh my god."
Nah. I'm pretty hard to shock.
Yeah.
People at work always hate it because they try to come up behind you and they'll try to scare you, and I the only time they had one person that, the maintenance guy come through one time, and it was a Saturday, so usually, like, nobody's in the building, but I was on call and I had to go in to get some stuff for a patient, and so the lights are all off. I'm not sure why he had the lights off. I don't know how you work on stuff in the dark, but whatever. Anyway, he come around the corner and it's in dark, and I could just see a little light from, like, the window, and I see this figure and he jumps out and I cold cocked him. I knocked him right on his butt. And he was like, "You punched me." And I'm like, "Hey," I'm like, "It's in the dark. I don't know what the heck you're doing in here in the dark." No, I'm like, "I don't know what you're doing, but yeah, if you do that to me, that's what happens." But generally, when they try to scare me,
It's
it
funny
works.
is like, and there's very few carnivores that make me think this,
Yeah.
if any other than you. But one of the reasons why I like you so much is, and I do try to watch your program, and I do come on, I do
Mhm,
go in the chats, and you
mhm.
see me because you've
Yeah.
responded.
Mm.
But I don't really get that much notification, or I get like last minute notifications, so I'm always
I
late.
know.
But and I even looked, and it's like I looked at your thing, your channel just today, and it's like I have it for all notifications, so I don't know why it's coming late or
I
whatever, but
know.
it is what it is, I guess. It's YouTube, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now you don't remind me of the woman, okay, but you remind me of the book, like the way that your personality, okay, and
Mhm.
hopefully this doesn't come as an insult. But you remind me of the book from Judge Judy, "Don't
Oh,
pee on
yeah,
my
good.
leg and tell me it's raining." Like,
Absolutely.
you don't take the bullshit, you
Yes.
know?
I
And I have
don't
a
like
lot of respect for
sugarcoating
that.
and
Yeah. Like,
yeah,
no matter
yeah.
who's saying
Well,
it. Yeah, I
yep,
mean, you're nice about it, you're not mean. Like, if I
yeah,
say something that's not right,
no,
you'll put me out on it. You're
yeah,
not gonna
I'm
be
not gonna
like,
be hateful.
right.
Right,
But, like, even
right.
your own doctor, where
Yeah,
most people are afraid of their doctors, you were like,
yeah,
even at 20,
no,
you were like, "No, there's something
mhm.
wrong here,"
Yeah, yeah,
and which
yep,
led you to the path that you're on. And a lot of us
yeah,
had
thank
that.
God.
A lot of us had that, I mean, you think about that's pretty
Mhm,
much carnivore. So we got 2
yeah,
questions in the chats,
okay,
2 next to each other. So I guess
okay.
neither one of these people want me to go soon because now they're asking the questions. So, Laura,
Yeah,
do you fat
yeah.
fast and what to eat?
Yes. So I don't do a lot of fat fasts. I change up my fast. So I usually do 2 MAD or OMAD. It just kind of depends, but I listen to my body. If I'm fighting off like Thomas has got a cold right now. If I'm fighting something off, I am putting nothing in my body but electrolytes and water. I don't eat. I let my body kind of shut down and do what it needs to do, autophagy. Then I will do a day of dry fasting sometimes. I don't do tons of them back to back because with women, it spikes our cortisol pretty high. But I do a fat fast probably once a month. And what I do personally, I'm very fortunate that I can buy ribeye fat by pounds of it at a time because that's what I render down to make a lot of my tallow products. But I eat every day. If I'm eating a meal, I have half a pound to a pound of ribeye fat that I cook crispy, fry it crispy, and put the mineralized salt on it. So I do that. I can do egg yolks in that day. I don't do bone broth because I have histamine reactions to bone broth in that long process of cooking it. So I don't do that anymore. But if you have no trouble with that, that's what I would do. I do MCT oil in the morning in my Coco Loco, which is by Salty Company, and hot water. And so that's what I do on my fat fast days or butter. I'll put butter in there too. I love, good butter, but that's what I do.
Okay. So in Bride's Biscuit, she asks, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, Bride's Biscuit. I always get mixed up with it being Bride. I think Bride, I think, well, sorry about that. He asks, Laura, what's your favorite top 3 lifestyle protocols for health? For me, diet was only half the picture.
hmm So, what I recommend is most of us come from damaged backgrounds. We've had something happen to us in the background. So, I work with a lot of clients that have come from abuse, abusive marriages, fathers, families, just tragedies. And so I am always like, journaling. I'm big on write down your why for why you want to get healthy. I always say write down the things that have happened to you, the things that make you who you are. And sometimes the bad things make you be a better person of something. And sometimes it's something that you have to work at. But I always have them write those things down. And then I talk about fasting because I promise you with that, especially mental anguish, PTSD, the fasting is a good thing to do, but I always warn people to be very ready to face any of those things that are going to come up, whether that be PTSD from, combat, whether it be that you had abusive household. But I always say you've got to be prepared because during extended fast, like the first 7-day fast, woo, everything comes back because all you got is time to think. You're not eating, you're not cooking, you're not doing any of this. You're drinking water and maybe electrolytes. Um, but it was a good process to go through and to try to heal those things. I'm big on writing those things down that you feel were hurtful or harmful, and then as you're going through these steps of healing with that, I like symbolism. So I like to have, like, you go outside and you burn it. You burn that page. You get rid of it. You release it. You let it go. Some people will call that spiritual. I do believe in God. I read the Bible every single day. A lot of people choose not to, but if somebody wants to do that, I think reading a couple, verbs here and there is helpful in the morning. I think breath work and learning how to meditate and just be quiet and just go into yourself and learn to listen to the body because our bodies will tell us everything we need to know. And one of the things that I've learned about food is when I eat something, even if it's carnivore, as people will say, well, you ate dark chicken meat, that's carnivore. Yes. And I ate it, and my body literally was like, well, that was like eating a piece of paper. There was no nutrients in there. That was wasted. Now you go eat your pound of hamburger that you're going to eat. That's exactly what would happen because I've learned to listen to my body. So that is what I do, which is diet related, but it's spiritually related with the mind, with that fasting. Um, and then body movement. And it doesn't have to be crazy. Like, I'm not one of these people who thinks you need to be doing 45-minute hit exercises. I think that's usually the worst thing you can do.
Right.
It is just moving your body, whether it's walking in an apartment, going up and down the steps, whether it's body like you doing your push-ups and your things like that, that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. I think
And you do
anything
know
to
I don't
keep the
do them
body
that
moving.
often, right? Like,
That's okay. Hey,
like
but you
usually,
do.
usually when I do them on the video.
Well,
Like
that's
how often do
okay.
you see the video? Oh no, I know it is.
Yeah,
I don't want people thinking
yeah.
because I'd probably be a lot better if
Well,
I did do them every day. I'd probably be a lot more form and stuff. But you
I
just
find that when you do movement like that, and it's not so much about even putting on muscle or losing weight because ultimately I lost all of my weight on keto before I went carnivore. I gained 10 pounds and then I stuck with it. I was like, if I gain one more pound, I'm busting out of these scrubs and I'm in trouble. And I just stuck it out. I did. I threw away the scale. I quit looking at her. She's a BITCH, so she's in the trash. So I just got rid of that, and I don't even remember. It was just like all of a sudden, it was like a whoosh happened, and that was it. And I lost that 10 pounds. And I'll go up and down. I might go down to 155 pounds. I might go up to 160. I might be 161. I might be 150. I don't care. And I only know when I go to my functional doctor and get on her scale. I don't care. My thing is, I want this okay. I want this okay. And then I want the rest of the body. I want overall health. And so, I think that's why these kind of communities are so important because I don't ever want people to compare themselves to my story. Like, oh, well, she got lucky. This is her story. I want to be as good as this or as bad as that, whatever it is. I don't want it for that. I think the community needs to be out there so people can see that we're all different. We all have different ways of getting there. But ultimately, my goal is for people to be as healthy as possible. Like I said,
Oh, of course.
staying out of the medical industry if they can. Which, yeah,
Right.
I've had people go, "What about your job?" And I was like, "Don't worry, there's always going to be sick people.
Right. There's
I'll
always,
have a job."
and you
Yeah.
think about it, the hospitals, they weren't really meant for us. They were meant
No,
for like trauma. Like,
that's it.
you were in a car
Trauma.
accident or something like that.
Yep.
They weren't
Trauma,
meant to be
birth,
filled
and
up the way they are.
surgery.
Yeah, they weren't
That's
meant to be
right.
filled up the way they are,
Yep. Yeah,
because it's kind of sad, because you're like,
it is.
like people, a lot of people can, like, including me, would be like, like I mentioned in my stories, like how I waited like 16 hours on the second time, and then they kicked me out,
Right. Yeah,
and the thing is, as ridiculous as that is, there's probably a time when you did not wait 16 hours to go see it in the hospital because they didn't have so many patients to look at. It's like,
exactly.
like, yes, it's broken, like,
It is very,
or
very,
let's
very
get the
broken.
X-ray and stuff like that. So,
Right.
just let you guys know, I two things. One, I just texted my boss and told him no because I'm kind of tired because I'm still sick.
Good.
So, and plus two, the parking lot is super icy, and
Yeah.
with my walking, it was bad this morning when there was light. Can you imagine in the dark?
In the dark?
Yeah,
Yeah. That
with
would
all
not be good. You don't
with
need to do that.
Right. So I'd rather, I mean, it's only he only wanted me for 3 hours, so they can handle it,
Yeah.
for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Whatever reason it is that they, somebody called out sick, I'm sorry, but,
I know.
So,
It does
um,
happen.
yeah. So, and another thing too, remember before when I was talking about, um, my A1C being not my A1C, let's go back and let's go to the future,
Your
and
glucose?
my glucose was 132. So now it's at
Yeah.
114. So you're
Awesome.
doing something to me to bring my sugars down because I did not need anything. I did not need any insulin or any. The last time I had insulin today was this morning. Um, so
Good. That's good.
whatever
You're
you're
healing.
doing, is and then okay. So we have a question here from George Goodenough. Um, I just love that name, Good Enough, because it's his
Yeah.
real name, so that's what makes it even better. Laura, what's your view on cheese? I eat quality cheese from the farm. I
Mhm.
love cheese. Oh, that's probably my kryptonite. I live near
Yeah.
the village of Cheddar, the
Nice.
home of the world's
Mhm.
favorite cheese. So what's your
Wow.
view on, I mean, if
Yeah. So
I would go if I went to England, I would definitely go visit Cheddar, you know?
I would too. And even though I'm lactose intolerant with what we have over here, my guess is I could probably tolerate it over there. So I myself cannot do cheeses because I am lactose intolerant. And I think that comes not from having an unhealed gut, because I've healed my gut. My dad was three-quarters Cherokee Indian, and they tend to be lactose intolerant. I have done all the things, and I can take Lactaid, it does nothing, it does not help. So I can't partake in cheese, but I do think that if you have a good quality source cheese, I think go for it. Now, you do know that all cheese has casomorphines, so it can be an addictive type item
Yes.
because it does cause a dopamine response. Not
Yeah.
that that's a bad thing, but you just have to know, like, because there again, I'm not a moderator. And if I start on cheese, I could eat the whole block.
And that's probably my Achilles heel too.
Yeah.
And he adds on brides, no
Mm,
camberbit. I don't know what that is. Brie, Pont el Evque,
mhm.
Gurs.
Oh,
Those
dairy,
were
yeah.
my go-to French cheeses. I'm
Oh,
sorry
yeah,
if I
yeah.
mispronounced it, George. I
It's
apologize.
okay.
I'm not a scholar
Yes.
or a
Yeah,
scholar.
yeah,
Not squalor or a scholar.
that's right. Yeah, and I do think, like, probably, brie, stuff like that. I've talked about, like, if I was ever going to try to make my own with like an A2 milk, which has the casein protein, the
Right.
cows don't have the casein protein. That is probably what I would try to make would be like a brie or something like that. So yeah, I think that it's perfectly acceptable. I am not like I've had people go. I'm not a carnivore policeman, so I'm like if I do always say starting with I really think lion version at first, and then working your way up to where you can go is where I think you need to start. I think that elimination of everything, allowing your body to heal, and then putting food items one time a week, for a week at a time to get to wherever your normal is. I have a lot of people that are, carnivore or ketovore, whatever you want to call them, and they eat a lot of like the meats, and then they have like the fermented cabbage or kimchi or kefir. Great. I'm like, go for it. If your gut can handle that and it's good to reset the gut, for a lot of people. I said, "Go for it." I am never gonna sit there and say, "Well, I'm taking your carnivore button from you today."
Yeah.
I don't care. I want you healthy. And you know what? If I could find a person to stay healthy on vegan, I'd say go for that. But I've yet to come across one that didn't have severe deficiencies in all of the vitamins, especially the B vitamins. I've never come across one that didn't have that, which is sad. But we're just not created to only live on those.
Okay. So, a couple things with that. No Slow is just something. Gary, I'm sure you've heard of Gary.
Mhm. Yeah,
Thank you, Laura, for taking the time to share with us your story and knowledge. So I just want to put that
you're
out there.
welcome. Yeah, you're
And then,
welcome.
and then I get the joke. DS 111 says a gentleman and a squalor instead of a scholar.
Yeah.
And George is saying that Juliet will be visiting Cheddar in June. She doesn't
Mhm.
like cheese, but Doug loves it. It's pronounced
Oh,
Evic. Um, it means bishop
Vic.
in French.
Oh, okay.
That's
Awesome. Evic.
that's pretty cool. Thank you, George.
Interesting.
And I have never had kimchi, but I like to say the word.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's
kimchi
just
and
not
kefir.
kefir.
Kefir, yeah.
Kefir.
Kombucha.
Kapucha.
Yeah.
Actually, I always like make the joke like they did in Seinfeld, like salsa is like the best condiment because people like to say salsa. Can I have
Salsa.
some? Can I
That's
have some
right.
salsa?
Yeah.
And then like my favorite used to be pumpernickel. I used to love to say the word pumpernickel. Like yeah,
Pumpernickel. My mother
I used to
loved
like
that bread
pumpernickel.
growing
I
up.
used to like pumpernickel bread with really fresh butter. I mean, it's funny. Like even before I became
Mhm.
carnivore, I'd rather have fresh butter than margarine. Like that stuff to me
Oh,
tastes like.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, my
I
grandfather actually, we found out later on that he was Welsh, so I wouldn't mind visiting Wales.
Oh, yeah.
Just like for years, it's the funniest thing, and I think I told a few people this. No, everybody thought my grandfather was Irish.
Mm,
So we'd be like, "You stubborn Irishman," and all that stuff.
mm.
And one day he announces, he's like, "I'm not Irish. My
Oh,
family came
that's
from
funny.
Wales." Not
Oh.
even his own wife knew he came from Wales. She's like, "No, you're Irish," and he goes, "No, I've
Mm.
always been
Well,
Welsh." She's like, "No, you
yeah.
haven't." And they're
Yes, I
arguing.
am. Yeah. Now my husband is Irish. He is a Russell,
Yeah, yeah,
Russell,
yeah.
and,
So is my
so his
my
family.
so is
Yeah.
my, well, my grandfather's last name was McGee,
Mhm.
McGee, and I guess that's
Yeah.
why they thought he was Irish because of that last name, and
Right.
my sister's last name now from her husband is McNally.
Mhm.
So, and he's a great mixture. He's part Irish and part Russian.
Oh, neat.
So
Yeah.
he drinks
Yeah.
his scotch and he loves his vodka.
Oh, my mother loves that. What is that? Chivas Regal. I don't even know what it is. It's disgusting.
Oh,
Oh,
his favorite thing is it might be the same thing, I don't know, but, his favorite thing is, vodka and Red Bull.
oh, oh.
And I've even made the joke, I said, "Well, doesn't Red Bull isn't that supposed to wake you up and, like, give you
Yeah.
wings?"
That's an
And
upper,
vodka
and the
doesn't,
other
like,
one's a
make you
downer.
vodka, doesn't that make you
Yeah.
tired? And he goes, "Yeah." I said,
Yep.
"So what, you're actually having like a level high because you're mixing two
Yeah,
drinks. One's to make you go down, the other one's to make you go up. So it's like,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
Doesn't make sense, but a lot of people do that. I know people do Jaeger bombs and they do Jägermeister, which tastes kind of like black licorice, and they'll put it in like a Red Bull, a glass with Red Bull. I've seen
yeah.
that happen before. I just, I have vodka. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 13 great big bar pints of vodka, and it's very top shelf stuff, but that's because that's what I use for my tinctures. I don't drink it.
And Bride's Biscuits says that those drinks are illegal in New York City. Wow, I did not know that.
Oh, wow.
Like, you mean like to drink separately or to mix them together? It's
Probably having them
yeah.
together.
I mean, because wouldn't that be
Yeah, that
weird if
would
like you go
be
to New York City and it's like you bring in Red Bull with you and Red Bull is like illegal in New York City?
yeah,
I never knew that.
yeah,
Yeah, well, it's true. Mixing stimulants with alcohol is dangerous.
absolutely. I mean, we've seen a lot of, stars die because of that, you know, so I yeah,
Yeah, I don't
it's
know if
not
he does
something
it
I would
anymore.
ever
It
do.
was more like 20 years ago he did it more than anything, like when the kids were still babies, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, well, yeah, he needed to calm his nerves.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause Kelly just turned 21 in July, and,
Yeah,
Joe is gonna be 19 in March,
yeah,
so, um, I know it makes me sound old to have nieces and nephews that old, but,
yeah.
yeah.
I've got a brother that's 37 and I'm 55. Yeah.
But, it's funny, like, I was doing the math, and if I had a child at 18,
Mhm.
I would definitely be able to have a child at, like, 30, against
Oh,
37.
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
which means I
Yeah, 'cause
definitely
my
yeah.
yeah, because I was gonna say my daughter will be 35 in 26. My son will be 30 in 26. So, yeah, very easy, and I have a grandson that's 13 already. So and I wasn't 18 when I had my kids. I was 20 and my daughter was 21 when she started. Um, but it doesn't take very long, and those little boogers are expensive at Christmas, let me tell you.
Well, that being said, I do
Yeah,
apologize, but I just got the 5-minute mark, on here, so I
yeah,
do apologize to everybody because I've been having a great time with you, Laura.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
everybody else has too. Everybody's been pretty engaged. Um, George says that he's 60 and he'll have a full brother of 80.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So
I mean, it happens.
is having a like, how would you have a half a brother?
Because if they had the same mom but different dads or
Oh,
same
no, no, I
like
know,
that.
but I was thinking of a joke,
Oh,
like,
I gotcha.
you know how some people say they have 2.5 kids? Well, how do you have a half a kid?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
You know?
statistically, they come out and say the average household has 2.3 kids, and I'm like,
How
"Do I
do you have
have
a
one in
point
the
3
oven?"
kid, like
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm 3 months pregnant?
Yeah.
What does that
But then
mean? Yeah,
as I was
I
saying the
know.
joke, I'm thinking to myself, "Well, I guess you could have a stepbrother." I have a stepbrother and a stepsister, so I guess you could have, like, a half a
Yeah.
step, you know? So, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
I was
possible.
an only child till my, senior year, so
Yeah,
that
my
was a
mom was
heck
an
of
only
a
child. My
change.
father was one of 9, but my mom was an only child,
Wow.
and she was
Wow.
adopted. But I didn't really see my father's family that much, growing up.
Yeah, yeah.
So that being said, um, live, love, heal, and for God's sakes, people, ask Laura, eat the meat.
I always say meet, heat, eat, and repeat.